One Piece chapter 965. This is probably the best chapter of this flashback yet. Next week might surpass it based on the setup that we're getting right now, but honestly this chapter was great. You can never go wrong with seeing the older generation in their prime days. We saw Whitebeard and his crew in the last chapter, and now we're getting Roger and his crew, and you can tell that Roger definitely had the better of the two in terms of crews. I think this chapter probably had one of the best panels in the entire series. One of the more interesting things about this chapter was the amount of subtle information that Oda placed here and there, things that probably tie into how certain things came to be in the future. And of course we also got more dialogue on the Wano side of things, but we'll get more into that later in this video. But let's start from the beginning. Now we start the chapter with a conversation between Oden and Toki, and here we get more information about her. She states that her parents were originally from Wano, which is something that was hinted in the last chapter because she had the same attire that the people of Wano have, and also the symbols that resemble that of the Kozuki clan. And it also seems that she was someone from a noble family in Wano because she holds the name of Amatsuki, which is one of the 5 families under the shogunate, which is very interesting because a lot of these households have something to do with the moon. And this could also tie into why the Minks and the Kozuki clan were allies since the beginning, because we know the Minks also use the moon for their Sulong form, so I think there's some form of connection there. The moon has been a very big topic in the One Piece world, so we might get more on that with this flashback. And obviously here we get to see that Toki and Oden eventually form a relationship, which results in Momonosuke being born 2 years later. We also get to see how Whitebeard created the division leaders, given that his crew was getting bigger and bigger, and it's pretty much confirmed that Oden was indeed the 2nd division leader like we all thought. It's kind of crazy how far Oda goes with these foreshadowings, because whether or not it's intentional, we know that Wano was the part of the story that he was the most excited to write about. It's very possible that this was something that has been in the works for a very long time. We also got a timeline when Blackbeard joined Whitebeard's ship, which was about 28 years ago, and I think this is all going to set up for his eventual encounter with Shanks in the next chapter, which is probably where he gets the scars on his eyes. And it also might give us a glimpse as to why Blackbeard's body is special, or what was so dangerous about him that Shanks was wary about. And this was Shanks tens of years in the future warning Whitebeard about Blackbeard's strength, so this is something that stayed with Shanks for a very long time. So we might get a glimpse pertaining to Blackbeard's secret ability, or hints on why he can have multiple fruits, and this is knowledge that even the Whitebeard pirates knew about, because Marco knew that Blackbeard had a special ability, so they knew he was special. But we might actually get to see it here in action in the next chapter. Now we move back to Wano, and here we get a lot of information about Orochi and how his plan to become Shogun was made. And here we learn that his family used to be a part of one of the 5 families that served under the Shogun, and the reason that they were kicked out was because his grandfather committed acts of treason, as he was responsible for using poison on the other daimyo so that he could succeed as the Shogun, given that the current Shogun couldn't have any children. Now what's also kind of interesting here is that 4 of the 5 families have names related to the moon, while the Kurozumi clan, which is where Orochi comes from, doesn't, which hints towards them being the black sheep of the bunch, as their clan titles translates to black hole, which is very symbolic of their nature. And if you also noticed, the Amatsuki clan was also mentioned, which is Toki's family name. So she was a part of the, I guess, the main 5 daimyo clans. And so for Orochi to realize his plan, he worked with this mysterious witch, who was also hinted to be someone from the Kurozumi clan based on her response. Probably someone who held a grudge against the Shogun for the downfall of her family, and she pretty much passed on her will to Orochi, which sparked Orochi's wishes to become Shogun because he felt like he deserved that position. And here we see that she has Mr. Two's ability, the copy fruit, and she was also responsible for giving Orochi his mythical snake devil fruit. And here on out, using her ability, she tricked a lot of people using the copy fruit to give Orochi the position that he needed to be in order to become the Shogun. And even in the previous chapters, we saw some of the workings of his plan, as he was borrowing money from Oden without paying back. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how everything went down when Oden comes back, given that Kaido also got involved as well. As sad as it's going to be, it's probably going to be really amazing. Now we then move on back to Whitebeard and Oden, and here we get a 2-year time skip, so the 4th year that Oden has been on Whitebeard's ship, and they arrived at an island that looks very similar to Ruskaina, and here we get to see the full glory of the Roger pirates. And this was the best part of this chapter for me personally, just seeing Roger, a Prime Roger, Rayleigh, Scopper, all of these guys all in the same place is something that you don't get to see often. And honestly, the drip was real when it comes to the Roger pirates. All of them looked amazing, and you also get to see a Shanks wearing Roger's hat, and obviously Buggy as a scout. And here we get to see that Roger says that he doesn't have much time left, which makes sense because he dies 2 years later. And I like how he mentions that Garp and Sengoku are the only people worthy of taking him on. I mean, we've known Garp was capable of that, but I think this also puts some respect on Sengoku's name as well. But given the setup that has been presented here, Whitebeard versus Roger is most likely going to happen next chapter, and Oden versus Rayleigh most likely. We're obviously not going to get the whole thing, but given that the next chapter is the last chapter of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if Oda shows us something that he usually doesn't pertaining to Whitebeard and Roger, maybe some next level hockey that hasn't been revealed. You know, I feel like Oda could definitely throw in one of those surprises that would make that the next chapter pretty amazing. We're also going to get Shanks versus Blackbeard here, and also Oden's transition to the Roger's crew. And we know for sure that he only spends 2 years with them, given that Roger dies 2 years from now. And it makes sense because this is the final voyage that Roger's going to be on, because we know that after some time, the Roger's crew disappeared for some time, and that's probably when, you know, they went on the final voyage. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this chapter. This was an amazing chapter. Next week should be pretty good as well. But comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. It is Pharaoh, and I will see you folks later. Peace.